I'm Zoe Vance, an architect by profession, and that night before Christmas, just a woman bracing herself to face a family that had already turned its back on her. Eddie Robinson, my boyfriend, waited by the front door with his keys in hand, ready to drive to his parents' house. We met a year ago at an urban design conference. He's a structural engineer, the kind who asked me about my ideas instead of my title, who saw beneath the surface from the start. What began as a professional connection quickly grew into something I dared to hope was real. He looked at me then, his voice soft, careful. "Are you sure you don't want to come with me instead?" I offered him a faint smile. Not quite brave, not quite convinced. "It's just one Christmas dinner," I said. But it wasn't a celebration I was headed toward. Not this time. This was something I had to end. Pulling up to my parents' house in Atlanta, the warm glow of white Christmas lights and the fresh pine wreath on the door seemed like a cruel joke. Everything looked perfect, like the kind of postcard families send to each other to mask the silent fractures beneath. I smoothed my emerald green dress, the fabric cool and heavy in my hands, and gripped the stack of gifts tighter. One of them wasn't wrapped to delight or surprise. It held a truth sealed in red wax, tucked inside an elegant envelope I had written myself. My mom, Catherine, opened the door with a thin, measured smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Oh, you're here. Thought you might skip it," she said. No hug, no warmth, just the polite distance of someone tolerating an inconvenient guest. "Dinner's at 5. Leave your gifts here. The turkey's still cooking." I stepped inside, and the air felt thick, the room almost too polished, too sharp. My dad, William, barely glanced up from his glass as he sat next to my brother Billy. Billy was already holding court, bragging loudly about his new condo in Miami. Everyone gathered around him like he was the sun pulling their worlds into orbit. When I greeted Billy, his smirk was a blade. "Don't expect a seat." We counted every spot. Laughter erupted around me, sharp and cold, like a cue I wasn't meant to miss. Mom passed behind me, her voice clipped but casual, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. "Billy brought Gabrielle, such a lovely future wife. Quinn brought Fred. The laundry room's got a plastic stool with your plate." She nodded down the hall. I followed her gaze. There it was, a plain green stool beside the washer, under a shelf lined with neatly folded towels. Spotless, cold, isolated. Perfect for keeping someone out of sight without leaving a mess. I stood there, stomach twisting in a slow knot. But I held myself steady. I was ready. Turning back down the hall, I caught a glimpse of Quinn in the living room. Once my closest friend, my cousin, she avoided my eyes as she gushed about her boyfriend Fred, like I didn't remember. She wore Grandma Rebecca's silver locket, a family heirloom meant for me. I was 16 when I caught them kissing. I overheard Fred whispering to Quinn that he was going to break up with me so they could finally be together. I confronted him before he could. He didn't deny it. Neither did she. And somehow, my family embraced them, said they made more sense. They erased what happened. Just like they erased me. Grandma Rebecca was the only one who ever truly stood by my side. She used to say that in this family, if you don't fit their mold, they don't just ignore you. They let you wither until you disappear. I miss her every day. Billy knows that better than anyone. And that's why he lied. But this time, I hadn't come empty-handed. I had brought the missing chapter. Before dinner, while setting the table, the task they still expected me to perform, I slipped a red wax-sealed envelope beneath Billy's plate. Labeled carefully in my own handwriting, for when the truth becomes unavoidable. No dramatic reveals. No shout or spectacle. Just the quiet weight of truth, wrapped and waiting beneath the linen napkins. The family drank and toasted, oblivious to the moment ticking away just beneath their plates. Billy chewed loudly, eyes never meeting mine. "Leaving already?" Always so sensitive. I moved toward him with calm certainty. "Billy, I'm just giving you back what's yours, the truth. And there's something under your plate." He frowned, confused. "What? Did you say something?" He lifted his plate slowly. The room went still, every eye locked on the wax-sealed envelope as it came into view. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. "If you want to keep pretending, go ahead," I said, voice steady. "But from now on, the only thing I'll pretend is that any of you still matter to me. Sometimes the harshest punishment is simply showing who you've become when they expected you to break. Most people build houses to live in. I build them to escape. Every line I draw, every beam I design creates space where their voices can't reach me. But no blueprint can shield me from the scars my family left behind. The moment I stepped into the firm's gleaming lobby after graduation, the city felt like it was waiting for me. Atlanta's skyline unfolding in every direction, a challenge and an invitation wrapped into one. Joining one of the top architecture firms wasn't just a career move. It was the first step in reclaiming my voice, in carving a space where I mattered on my own terms. I moved into a high-rise downtown, the kind of place where every window told a story of ambition and possibility. I traveled across the country, presenting sustainable designs that I poured my heart into, and when I lectured at universities in Florida and Texas, I spoke not just as an expert, but as someone who believed deeply in the power of architecture to change lives. Awards came, the kind that come with names I never thought I'd hear paired with mine. Magazines featured my work, calling me the architect who designs with soul. It was an accolade meant to honor my vision, but within the walls of my family's home, it was another excuse for them to turn away. At Easter, when I shared the news of winning a new government contract, I had hoped, maybe foolishly, for something small. A flicker of interest in Dad's eyes, a nod, even a quiet, "That's great." Instead, his gaze slipped away, drifting as if I'd become part of the background, a ghost at the edge of a bustling room. Before I could finish, he cut me off mid-sentence, turning to Billy with a question about the stock market. Just like that, the conversation veered away from me, and I felt myself dissolve into the silence between them. That moment wasn't just a slight, it was an erasure. Later, at their anniversary dinner, I carefully presented them with a miniature model of the house where they met. It was a small, tender symbol, a bridge between past and present, a piece of their story I wanted to honor, something thoughtful and intimate. Mom's smile was polite but distant, like a photograph you display but don't really look at. "How nice," she said softly, then turned immediately to Billy. "Now, tell us about your Miami trip." Their attention shifted away so fast it was as if I had never existed in that room at all. It wasn't simply that they ignored me. They erased me. That last Christmas was the fracture I hadn't allowed myself to fully see until it shattered everything. I had just made partner at the firm, the youngest in its history, a milestone I should have been proud to share. But when I told them, Billy's scoff rang loud and sharp, slicing through the room like a blade. "Partner. So now you sign papers while the men close deals." Laughter bubbled around the table, poisonous and cruel, coating the holiday air with venom. It wasn't mere indifference anymore. It was contempt. Sitting in my therapist's office, Dr. Melanie's voice cut through the fog of my pain, calm but resolute. "They may never change, Zoe. But you can. Don't beg for a seat at their table. Build your own." Those words planted a seed deep in my chest, a quiet defiance taking root in the dark. And slowly, I began to grow into it. I reached out to Grandma Rebecca's lawyer and requested a copy of her will. It was something I should have done years ago, but the fear of what I might find had kept me frozen. When the document arrived, stark and undeniable, the truth lay there in black and white. The locket meant for me, not Quinn. I sealed the photocopy in a red envelope, the same one now lying beneath Billy's plate. That night, I followed their unspoken rules. I went to the laundry room, the cold air tinged faintly with citrus detergent, sterile and sharp, like the silence waiting for me. My plate was already there, dry salad, rice dotted with raisins, 2 thin slices of turkey folded carefully, and a paper cup neatly folded. No crumbs, no warmth, no invitation. I sat by the small window, silent and still, watching the glow from the living room where my family celebrated without me. Billy was the center of it all, announcing his engagement to Gabrielle, flashing photos of their Paris proposal with the kind of certainty that made me ache. Gabrielle smiled, flawless and poised. Quinn leaned into Fred like the past had vanished into thin air. Mom smiled, saying, "This family has never been closer." The words hit me with a sharp edge, not for what they said, but for everything they left unsaid. No one asked how I was. No one asked about Eddie. No one mentioned my promotion. Zoe, can you get some more ice? Dad said without looking up. Sure, I answered, voice steady even though my heart thundered in my chest. In the kitchen, I scooped the ice slowly, the chill biting into my palms and grounding me even as my mind spiraled. Indifference doesn't shout, it erases. Dessert came amidst clattering dishes and rising laughter. Billy regaled the table with a story about a millionaire client in the Bahamas, and everyone laughed on cue. I stayed still, a ghost framed against the glittering Christmas tree behind them. That tree, as polished and curated as everything else in the house, was just as fake. The real story, the one they refused to see, waited beneath Billy's plate. Zoe, can you take a photo? Aunt Wendy asked. Of course, I said, standing. Billy posed confidently in the center, polished and untouchable, Gabrielle glowing beside him like a perfect image. Dad's arm rested possessively around Mom, who smiled like a host on a cooking show. Charlie gripped Grandpa's cane like a sword until Mom shot him a warning glance. Aunt Wendy and Uncle Joe stood behind Quinn, who leaned into Fred as if nothing had happened. All smiling. All perfect, I murmured under my breath, adjusting the camera's angle. Don't you want to be in one with us? Charlie asked innocently. Billy grinned, cutting in smoothly. Zoe prefers staying behind the camera. Natural habitat. Nervous laughter echoed. Side glances flickered. Then that heavy, cold silence settled in again. But this time, I refused to let it linger. I walked toward the dining table. Wait, I said, voice steady. One last thing. Billy was mid-sentence when my eyes caught his, steady, unflinching. There's something under your plate, I said softly. He frowned, irritation flickering across his face. What now? A napkin poem or some kind of joke? Nervous chuckles rippled through the room. Deliberately, he lifted the plate, and there it was, a red envelope sealed with wax, his name scripted across the front. Time seemed to slow. The room held its breath. What the hell is this? His voice cracked as he broke the seal and began to read. The confident mask slipped away, fingers tightening as he absorbed the truth. It was Grandma Rebecca's will. The locket Quinn wore, my locket, was legally mine. He looked up, pale and shaken. You went through my stuff? No, I said calmly, my voice steady as stone. I went through the attorney. What's illegal is hiding a will, deceiving the whole family. Quinn's face twisted with shame. Billy told me there was no will, that Grandma left the locket to whoever she wanted. She left it to me, I said quietly. You knew. You were there when she promised it. You just didn't want to lose your place. Her voice trembled, vulnerable. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I thought if I spoke up, I'd lose them all. And instead, you let them turn on me, I said, my voice soft but firm. Billy slammed his fist against the table. You ruined Christmas. No, I said, rising with quiet resolve. I revealed the truth. You just weren't ready to face it. Mom stepped forward, voice trembling with emotion. Zoe, this wasn't necessary. We're family, we fix things. I shook my head, feeling a calm I hadn't known in years. I tried that for years. But you ignored me, mocked me, made me invisible. Dad crossed his arms, voice sharp. You're making a scene. No, I said, gaze unwavering. I'm making peace. I turned toward the door. The cold night air rushed to meet me, crisp and cleansing like a fresh start. At the threshold, I looked back once more. Merry Christmas. Inside, the walls of silence and denial began to crumble. The morning after was like waking up from a long, suffocating dream. The air was lighter, cleaner. Mine. Sunlight poured through the windows, bathing the apartment in gold. It wrapped around me like a gentle embrace, warming every corner of my soul. Eddie was already there, holding 2 mugs of coffee, the steam curling between us like a quiet promise. A plate of pancakes, warm and fragrant, sat on the table. He smiled, the kind of smile that didn't need words, steady and sure. Next time you hatch a plan like that, he teased softly, brushing a stray lock of hair behind my ear. Count me in. We're a team. His words settled inside me, soft and solid, a tether to the present, to hope. I reached for my phone, half expecting a message from them. My family. Something desperate, something bitter. But there was nothing. No calls. No guilt. Just 2 texts from Quinn. You were right about the locket. If you want to talk, I'm here. I read them again, letting their quiet honesty fill the empty spaces. And I remembered my voice from last night. Clear, calm, unapologetic. No shame. No doubt. Just peace. That day, Eddie and I stayed in. The Christmas lights outside blinked lazily, their soft glow a gentle lullaby to a restless world. For the first time in a long time, my chest didn't ache. The tightness was gone. I felt whole. The greatest gift that year wasn't wrapped or tied with a bow. It was the stillness inside me, my conscience finally at rest. In the days that followed, ripples spread. Aunt Wendy's shaky voicemail arrived first. Zoe, I'm sorry. I didn't see how much you were hurting. That was wrong. Her voice trembled, a burden lifting. Then a text from Mom. Zoe, your brother was just teasing. He's a great guy about to get married. You should come to the wedding, even if just for a moment. Think what people might say. Be a good girl, and we'll forgive you. Love, Mom and Dad. I read it twice, then didn't reply. Monday morning, I returned to work, stepping into a world that already knew my worth. My team greeted me with hugs, smiles, even coffee brought with a knowing glance. You look lighter, colleagues said. I was lighter, because life wasn't changing by chance. It was changing because I stopped apologizing for being myself. That night, the doorman slipped a small package into my hands, his voice low and careful. Someone left this for you. Said it was important. I felt the weight of it before I even looked inside. Slowly, I unfolded the soft fabric wrapping, and there it was, Grandma Rebecca's silver locket, cool and familiar against my skin. No note. No explanation. Just the quiet presence of something precious, something more than metal and chain. Holding it, I felt a warmth rise deep in my chest, a whisper of legacy threading through time, wrapping around my heart like a gentle promise. It wasn't just a family heirloom. It was a reminder that I was never truly alone, that strength lived in my blood, passed down in moments of hardship and grace alike. Weeks later, Eddie and I stood beneath the quiet sky and eloped. No grand ceremony, no witnesses, just the 2 of us, stepping forward into something uncharted and beautiful. I wore Grandma Rebecca's locket that day, its steady weight grounding me, a secret vow spoken without words. It matched perfectly with Eddie's grandmother's engagement ring, a circle of history, of love handed down across generations, now binding us in our own unfolding story. In that moment, the past and future braided into a seamless whole. The hurt and betrayal that once threatened to fracture me were no longer anchors but stepping stones, each scar a testament to resilience, each heartbreak a lesson in courage. Our new life didn't rise from old wounds. It blossomed from hope. Now, I spend my days designing the home we'll build together, a place shaped by dreams and deliberate care. Solid foundations that won't crack under pressure, walls that hold light and laughter. Eddie teases that architects draft the plans, but it's the engineers who keep everything standing strong. Kind of like us. Kind of like me. I'm no longer Zoe Catherine Vance, the woman desperate for a seat at someone else's table, waiting for permission to be seen. I am Zoe Rebecca Robinson, the woman who carved out her own space, who built her own table from the ground up. They refused to welcome me, so I created a place where I belong. And this table? It's wide enough to hold everything that truly matters: healing, unwavering strength, and a future crafted by my own hands. It's a place where love is real, courage is honored, and truth is the foundation beneath every step forward. In building this life, I've learned that the most powerful foundation isn't stone or steel. It's the quiet, steady strength inside us all, waiting to rise when we choose to stand for ourselves. And if you're listening wherever you are in your story, know this: you can rise too. You can gather the broken pieces, weave them into something new, and build a life that shines with hope and purpose. Because no matter what tried to break you, your strength is waiting, just beneath the surface, ready to carry you home. Have you ever been through something like this? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Thanks so much for watching Rise with Sherry. If you enjoyed this story, Please like and subscribe for more.